What's up, traders? So finally getting around to doing the update to that DOS tutorial that we've been meaning to do, and believe it or not, I decided to do it in series because if we were to sit here and just do one video, it would take absolutely forever. It would take more than an hour, maybe even 2 hours to really dive deep into everything. So I decided to break it down into series so we can really focus in on one thing. And in this first installment, we're going to go ahead and break down the basics that you need to get started. We're going to get you a montage, we're going to get you a chart, we're going to get your account, everything, the orders, everything set up so that we can make sure that you're ready to trade. And we're going to make your DOS eventually look going from this to that. And with that said, let's get to it. All right, so this is exactly what you should be looking at when you first open up DOS and get logged in. This is exactly what pops up. I saved this when I first downloaded DOS just so I had it and I would know exactly what you guys are looking at when you first open everything up. And believe it or not, this actually isn't a bad setup. You could start with just this if you wanted to. Everything, you have a montage, you have a chart, it's all linked together. But what I like to do personally is just absolutely delete everything. By deleting everything, what it's going to do is it's going to allow you to learn where everything is, and it's going to allow you to do everything the way that you want it, right? Instead of kind of having this preconceived. I cannot tell you how many times over the past 2 years I have changed my layout. But anyways, to get us started, the first thing we're going to do to get that montage is trade montage, right? Pretty simple. And we're going to go ahead and drag that up here. Now, keep in mind, a quick little tip is this is bound to this window. So if you want to get this to the point, say you have 12 monitors or just one with a lot of space, you would just right click and hit this pop out button. What that's going to do is it's going to allow, I know you can't see this, but it's going to allow me to take it to another screen on the same screen, but outside of this DOS window. Now, if you want to bring it back in, simply right click. It'll now say MDI child, and there you go, right back in there. So the second thing we're going to need is a chart. We're going to go to quotes, chart, and that's going to pop up our chart. We're going to drag that over here. Again, the same thing applies to every window that you can open up here in DOS. All you do is right click the title bar and you would hit that pop out button. Another cool thing too, just a little feature, is if you right click and you hit this no title bar, you'll see the title bar goes and it'll give you that little extra screen real estate with the montage. So if you want to keep it the same size, now you can make it a little bit smaller and you have a little bit more screen real estate. So once you get everything placed where you like it, you could just right click on everything, hit no title bar, and it'll make it look a lot cleaner. And that's personally why I use it, to be completely honest. It just makes everything look a little cleaner, and I don't know, I just like it. So, all right, now we got our montage and our chart. So from there, how do we get the two together? Because if you take a separate montage and a separate chart and say we type in the SPY, you'll see that it loads here on the montage, but not the chart. Well, how we get those to link is this anchor button right here. So we would left click and hold, and you'll see that it changes to this little arrow. You drag it to the chart that you want, and there you go. So if you're setting up multiple charts at once, and you have different, multiple montages, that way you don't, if you do get confused, now you know how to fix that problem. You just left click this anchor and drag it over there. And this is what your default charts should look like. Obviously, they could be a little smaller. You can make them longer. You can do whatever you want, and we'll talk about that in another video. But for now, this is what your default chart will look like. So in reality, this is all that you would need to trade, right? You need a montage and you need a chart. You don't really need anything else. You got level 1, level 2 is not active, so it's Saturday. I actually don't pay for level 2 anyway because I don't personally use it, but this is where it would show up. You could add time and sales if you want. You could go quotes to time and sales. You could have that here as well. I personally don't use that because I like to think that I can kind of read the time and sales as it's happening on the chart. But again, that has nothing to do with this DOS tutorial. But again, just fiddling with all of the menus and finding these different windows is how you find these things, right? You can set it up to your preference. So one thing about the montage that I do want to show you guys is if you want to change the layout, say for some reason you want to have all these buttons down here that you trade with up above all of like the level 1 and level 2 information. Say you want the level 2 to be down the bottom and you want everything to be up top. So how you would do that is you would go down here in between the buttons and find an empty space, and you're going to right click. And that's going to bring this menu up, and you're going to go to Layout Config. So in this Layout Config, you'll see this is the default. There's actually nothing over here, so it's just because it's set to the default. But say you want, let's just bring everything over, and here's actually where you would add the hot buttons as well if you want to use hot buttons like I do. Again, another video. But if you get ahead of yourself, feel free to ask any questions down below, and I'll go ahead and answer them anyways, even though I'm going to do those in the future. But so say we have all of these added. Let's go ahead and hit OK just so you can see the hot buttons are down here now. We'll just add one in there so you can kind of have an idea of where it is. And we're going to go back to the layout config and say like you want that trade portion up above everything else. You would highlight it and hit this up button twice, right? It doesn't have to be twice, it's just to get it to the top. Then you would hit OK, and as you can see, it will move it up there above everything else. Now, I keep it as default. It just feels natural. It's kind of what I've always used, and that is what it is. But and also so to get back to that layout config, for some reason, I don't know if this is the case, but I've always had to right click in between somewhere up in the trade section. If you try to do it down here, like you can't get it to work. You have to click in some open space up top or in the trade area. I don't want to say up top because it's normally down below. So to get that back down, we'll just go ahead and move it back down below the level 2. And like me, I don't use level 2, so what I do is I actually just get rid of that section completely, and this is exactly what mine looks like. And just to show you guys, if you right click on this title bar, after you get a default, you can have it saved, and then what you would do is you would open up a second montage, right? We have a new montage, and you would right click, and once you have a default saved, like say this is how you want it laid out, you would hit save. I'm not going to do that because I have my other one set up, but I'll show you mine loads even under a new setup. So if I want to hit load default, you'll see that it pops up over here. We'll hit commit, and this is what mine looks like. So once you get one montage, you don't have to sit there and do it over and over and over again. The same with the chart. You would right click, you hit save as default, and then you would open up your new montage, and then you would hit a load default like we just did here, and it'll bring up your default montage. And the same thing goes for your chart. So if I want to right click on a chart, hit load default, this is what my charts look like by my default that I've set up. And again, we'll get into actually modifying the montages and the charts in a different video, but for now, you can see that's how that would be done. So now that we have a montage and a chart, and we have them linked together, which we'll do again real quick here, you will see the basis of what you need to trade. But what I like to think that you also need is those account windows, the order windows, and your positions windows. Those are the three what I like to think are necessities to have on your screen at all times to save yourself. And let's just bring the first one up and we'll get talking about it. So your accounts is your accounts, right? It's going to show you the accounts that you have open within Dash Trader, and it's going to keep tabs on what's going on, right? So I keep this completely off to the side because I have my unrealized on there, but it's a good thing to have somewhere available to see every once in a while because it's one of the 3 ways that will give you a hint that you are still possibly in a trade. Because that's one of the sole reasons you would have this open, is so that you can, because if something's unrealized and you thought you were closed out of all your positions, this would let you know. So really that's the only reason I like to have the account window open. Really you don't need it open if you want to have your unrealized open on something else, or just in the positions window, which I'm about to show you next. So if we go to trade again, and right under that is positions. This has, you can have multiple, so you can have it with closed positions or just without the regular positions. So what closed positions means is if you take a position and then you close it out, say the trade's gone, your positions window without the closed positions is just going to be empty again. But if you hit it with closed positions, it's going to keep the ticker there, and it's going to have your realized or whatever you have set on the positions window to still show even after you've closed the trade. So we're going to do, we'll do it with closed because it's not going to show up either way. But this is what I use because I like to see not only that my position has been closed, but I will see that I also have no shares in it. And a lot of people like to use it without closed positions because that would let them know that they're not in any positions. They can look at that window, there's nothing there, so they know they're not in any positions. So that's kind of the pros and cons of having it with and without the closed positions. I keep it up because, like I said, I have these 3 windows up on my screen. So between the 3, I can clearly see if I'm actually still in a position or not. And the third way that you can know that if you're possibly in a position or could be possibly getting into a position is your order screen. And I think this is a necessity because when you have this screen up or this window up, you cannot be getting into a trade or out of a trade without an order, right? So for the SPY, for instance, if we put an order in, let's say down here, we got to change it good to cancel because it is Saturday, and we put that in. There's the order that we just placed. You can also make this show up on your chart. What you would do, again, we're going to get more into detail with this, but you can go to right click, go to chart area, config area. I'll do this one just because it's kind of where we're going, but you can hit show orders, and again, just going into these menus, familiarizing yourself with them, seeing what options are in there. It's a great way for you to learn. But if you're here just to figure out the basics and exactly what you need, then this can be a good a good starting point. But as you can see, this is the default way that it'll pop up on the screen. And this is also a very good way when you think you close out of a trade, if there's still an order showing on the chart, then you should try to figure out what's going on, because if you think you're completely done with the trade, you're not, because you still have an order not only in the orders window, but if you choose to show them on your chart as well, which is a very good feature to have, you can physically see that, then clearly something's still going on. So with the order screen, you have the X here, you can click it there, and you can click it up on the chart as well to get rid of the order. So really, this is the basics. This is exactly what you would need to get started. These accounts, positions, and orders windows are not a necessity. Putting the orders on your charts is not a necessity, but they will protect you. That's why I like to bring those up, because if anyone has known me for a while, I like to make sure that if I'm going to try to teach somebody something, I want to do it the right way, and I want to protect you as much as possible. I want you to learn from my mistakes. I want you to understand where I'm coming from is not a place of trying to sell you something. It's a place of trying to help you beat the learning curve more than I think I may have or someone else has. I want you to succeed as quickly as possible. So that's why I like to put these videos out, so that you guys can hopefully learn a little bit quicker than you would have without them. And that's kind of the point behind them. So with that said, guys, like and subscribe. I always appreciate that support. If you do have any questions or comments, leave those down below. If you're trying to get ahead of yourself, you want to maybe ask something, maybe I missed something, feel free to leave that down below. I will be more than happy to listen and answer anything that I may have missed. But again, this was just the basics. We're going to dive into some more advanced stuff as the series continues. I'm going to try to do one of these every other weekend, just to kind of take time and really understand what I want to talk about in each of these and make sure I don't miss anything. So with that said, I'm going to get out of here. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.